What the church is putting out is worth considering when you are thinking about the United States trying to right a wrong in Iran, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So the Vatican is a country. A lot of people don't know that. It's a nation, and it has a foreign policy. And as part of that policy, it says that you should not fight militarily unless you're involved in a just war, okay, a righteous action. And there are three things that define just war. Just cause, you gotta have a reason. Right intention, what you want to happen after the military action is over, and proportionality. So if some nation kills 5 of your people, you don't kill 5 million. That's proportionality. Now, this is based on the writings of a very brilliant scholar, St. Augustine. And it has changed over the centuries. You remember way back the Crusades, where the Catholic Church tried to dislodge Muslims from the Holy Land. That was not a just war. I mean, it was a conflict between two religions, but it went on forever. And it was back and forth, and it was more about territory than imposing some kind of belief system in a deity. Anyway, right now, we have a schism in the Catholic Church. People like me, who respect the Church's teaching, believe that the Iranian action is righteous. So it is a just war. I said President Trump is doing the right thing. But often the right thing is very painful and very difficult to accomplish. In fact, most of the time. And it doesn't help when you have a powerful religion lining up against you. So Catholics are the biggest religious group in the United States of America. And Pope Leo has weighed in, and here's what he said, quote, "We lift our humble prayer to the Lord so that the thunderous sound of bombs may cease, weapons may fall silent, and a space for dialogue may open up in which the voice of the people can be heard," unquote. Okay, in theory, that's perfect. That's what should happen. But we have been trying to negotiate, we, the United States, with Iran to stop their nuclear weapons program for years. And dialogue doesn't seem to be doing it. And Iran itself admits, we're going to develop our nuclear weapons whether you like it or not. That's why the bombing started. That was the reason in the last Geneva conference between the United States, led by Steve Witkoff, and the Iranians, the Iranian foreign minister said, hey, we don't care what you say. We're going to do what we want. In addition to that, 30,000 Iranians have been murdered by their own government over the last few weeks. Those are protesters, you saw it. 30,000 dead. That's a lot of dead bodies. All right? So I'd like to hear the voice of the people, Your Holiness. I would. But they can't talk because they're dead. So this is reality intruding on theory now. In the United States, the Cardinal in Washington, D.C., Robert McElroy, said this, quote, "The criterion of just cause is not met because our country was not responding to an existing or imminent and objectively verifiable attack by Iran. As Pope Benedict declared categorically, Catholic teaching does not support preventive war, a war justified by speculation about events in the future." Now, we asked Cardinal McElroy to come on. He was so disrespectful to us, he didn't even reply to the invitation. That's not the Christian thing to do there, Cardinal. I'm scolding a cardinal, so hell awaits me. I understand that, but it's not. It was disrespectful, totally. And the Cardinal is not a stand-up guy. Sorry. Got to tell the truth. Now, the Cardinal says does not support preventative war. In the Civil War, if Presidents Pierce and Buchanan had taken aggressive action against the South, which was supporting slavery, which was brutalizing human beings, okay, if they had taken preventative action, Pierce and Buchanan would not have been a civil war, because the Confederacy at that point was too weak to fight. But neither president did. Pierce actually sympathized with the South, and Buchanan was an incompetent fool. And so it fell on Abraham Lincoln, president after Buchanan. Now, if the Union had taken action against the South to stop the rebellion, more than 1 million people would not have died. Then you go to 1938. Everybody knew Adolf Hitler wanted to conquer the world and was willing to kill as many people as possible to do it, including murdering civilians that he didn't like Jews, gypsies, homosexuals. Everybody knew that. That was not a secret. And interestingly enough, while the Catholic Church gets a black eye in the run-up to World War II, that's unfair. Because if you look at the rolls of the first concentration camp at Dachau in Bavaria, it's still there if you want to go over and see it, there were scores of Catholic priests who spoke out against the Third Reich, incarcerated in that concentration camp. Now, the Vatican couldn't do anything about it because it was so small. It is a nation, but it doesn't have any power. But if Europe and America had united against Hitler in 1938-39, 20 million people wouldn't have died. So you're telling me that preventative war is off the table, Cardinal McElroy? You're willing to see millions and millions of people die? That doesn't make any sense, and I don't believe Jesus would support it. I'm sorry. It makes no sense at all. Iran. So, we all know that 1,200 people were killed by Hamas in a raid of October 7th, 2023. How did that happen? Well, if you read Confronting Evil, and all of this swirls around my book, Confronting Evil, all of it, Hitler, Civil War, attack on October 7th, it's all in there. And the overarching theme is if you don't stop evil, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and more people die. That's a theme of Confronting Evil. Okay, so Hamas goes over, he kills, rapes, 1,200 people. They could not have done that without Iran. Iran arms them. Okay, and then the blowback from Israel into Gaza with the Palestinian people, what do we got, 60, 70,000 dead there? Because Israel had to protect itself. And Hamas was hiding behind the civilians. I mean, come on, that's Iran did that. Hamas and Hezbollah, which is firing the rockets at Israel now from Lebanon, they're bought and paid for by Iran. So how many more people got to die? And then you go back to the Iraq War, where Iran was making all the roadside bombs, killing Americans, on and on and on and on. You know, I got the Ayatollah Khomeini on the cover of Confronting Evil, and we explain exactly what he did in 39 years. Millions of people he killed. But you don't do a preventative war? And the Pope, space for dialogue. What do you want to talk about? This is a regime that admits it's going to develop a nuclear weapon, and you let it go? You let it happen based upon all of the things that we have seen in the last 39 years? I wouldn't want that on my conscience. I really wouldn't. The UN, a paper tiger, has no power, actually condemned Iran and said, look, they are developing a nuclear weapon and they're dangerous. Now, Iran never signed, neither did the United States or Russia, the UN nuclear treaty. So Iran didn't sign it, we didn't sign it, Russia didn't sign it. And, but the UN understands that at this point, Iran was fairly close to developing at least 10 nuclear bombs. Okay. When the UN condemns you, you know you're bad. So let's sum it up. In 1938, Hitler could have been stopped. He wasn't stopped. All right, 20 million dead at least in Europe, and millions more displaced. Civil War, 1 million dead. Okay, could have been stopped. This is all preventive action, which was not taken. But we're dealing with the Catholic Church now that even doesn't understand history or ignores it. Because I think I've made the most powerful case you can make, that if you got a dangerous nation, now we have nukes involved. Hitler didn't have nukes. Believe me, he would have used them if he did. Putin has nukes, which is why we can't preempt Putin. That's why we can't do it. Okay? But you can't, according to the Catholic Church, have a preventative war. And that's the memo.